You're tuned into Visions, a business and community affairs program designed to encourage and promote entrepreneurship in Central Alabama.
Thanks for tuning in to another edition of Vision. Cedric Varner, very excited to have our very special guest today, the mayor of the city of Montgomery, the capital of dreams, Mayor Todd Strange. Mayor, thanks for being here with us on the program.
Well, thank you. I bet you tell everybody they're special.
Well, no, you are special, man. I mean, we only got one mayor.
Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you. Very excited, a lot to talk about. I just tried to take a survey and a poll once I mentioned to people that the mayor was coming, and so some people wanted to know this and they wanted to know that, so we wanted to go straight into it.
So what came out on top?
What came out on top was Montgomery Public Schools and the proposed state takeover, and so people wanted to know, what is your take on that?
Well, obviously for the last several years we've been very active in trying to affect positive change with the school board. We've looked at starting our own system. We've looked at trying to help magnets. We've looked at trying to build new schools. We've tried to full service community schools. We've tried a lot of different things, but whatever the issue and for whatever the reason, we continue to not make a positive traction in that. The fact that the state is now considering an intervention, I think, is our quickest, best chance of moving in the right direction of educating our children. We support that. I'm delighted that the local school board has used the word collaboration, want to be part and parcel of that. I certainly have met with Mike Sennett. I've met with Mike privately as well as with a portion of the school board and the superintendent. By the end of this month, I think they've got to give some response, they meaning the local board. I hope that response will be very positive in that they want to work with the state in this intervention process. If that happens, then sometimes in a month or so, the actual intervention will take place. We try to bring some state resources that we locally perhaps don't have, and that we can then begin to look in the direction of having better test scores, having things that impede our teachers' teaching and our kids' learning. We get those removed. So I'm excited about this opportunity. It allows us then to work collaboratively with the state, with the local city and the county to affect positive change, because at the end of the day, it's all about the kids. And we've got 6,000 or 7,000 in the magnet programs and LAMP and Forest Avenue that do quite well. But we've got another group that are falling through the cracks, and it's that group that we got to make sure that we give them the best chance, because let's face it, they could be here tomorrow in 5 years or 10 years doing some of the things that we're doing, and we want our kids to have the best opportunity for success.
That's great. And that's one of the things I also wanted to ask you about when you say intervention in the magnet school. So does the intervention also include the magnets, or they just continue to operate as they are?
My understanding is that under the intervention statute at the state, you intervene in the entire system. Financial and personnel and policy and things like that. That does not mean that there's going to be massive changes in the magnet schools. I think and hope the massive change would be in those priority schools. They've been identified at 23, some would say as many as 37. Those priority schools where we can bring some resources. You know, why? It's just like in business. If you're running a business and you got a unit over here that's doing quite well, you don't spend a lot of time on that. You still have control of it, but you don't spend a lot of time. You spend time making changes where the change can get the biggest bang for the buck. And that's in that bottom third, bottom half of the students that we need to pay special attention to.
So what did you say is the timeline that you believe that this intervention will take place?
Well, last Thursday, the notice of intention was given, adopted by the school board. There's 21 days to respond. I think that expires at the end of this month. Then the school board state school board and superintendent have to evaluate what the response is, and then it has to come back in another vote at the State Board of Education. And from that vote, then a chief education officer has to be appointed that would be reporting to the state superintendent, and then whatever intervention action would begin to take place. Obviously, it's not going to happen immediately. They're going to have to do evaluation of various systems and programs. We got to get a handle on our finances. So I would assume that sometime in the March, April timeframe, you'd begin to see some changes.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. All right, real good. As it relates to schools, of course, another issue that's been circulating for the past few years is charter schools.
Yep.
And how does this affect the charter schools' mission agenda?
Well, you know, a couple of years ago, the statewide passed a charter bill that allowed charter schools. I think there were 10 or 11. We would love to be one of those charter schools from the state. What we've been actively trying to get the local board is to become an authorizer of charter schools, to take some of these failing schools and turn them into charter. That has not happened. Now with the intervention, perhaps that will. Charter has a place. It is not the be-all, end-all. The beauty of charter is you give it a particular mission and you evaluate it in 3 years or 4 years or whatever, and they're not doing the job that you have hired them, then you make a change. And so from that standpoint, I believe that over the next 5 years, charter will be part of the solution. It's certainly not the solution.
Mm. Well, and I think I heard in the legislation that, you know, the state is authorizing, was it 10 charter schools?
10 or 11, I think that's the original bill. There are a couple have already been authorized. We would like for that to be authorized, but I will tell you, there are not a lot of these charter national organizations that are just knocking the door down to get into Alabama. We've been having meetings with Birmingham and Montgomery together, trying to entice some of the better charters to come in and maybe open in Birmingham, open in Montgomery. And as this intervention process goes forward, I think we'll see some of that because now you've got the state board in control of the local system.
Okay. Well, as we're talking about education, I want to still transition to what's happening with magnet schools and construction.
Right.
Over Montgomery Mall. I want to just kind of speed that up.
Yeah.
So you've got magnet school being built over Montgomery Mall area. That's going to continue.
That lamp. Oh yeah. As a matter of fact, maybe it's even this week. We've got the official groundbreaking. A lot of work's been done. If you hadn't been by there, you'll go look. It's beginning to take form. You know, the impact where the technology and vocational education, the industry-backed school is already over there. It's going to be really an educational center. I know the owners of the interior of the mall would like to see more educational opportunities. Maybe a charter school there, certainly daycare, and even some of the private 2-year, 4-year institutions might end up going over there. So I think it will become hopefully an education center, but that's just part and parcel of what we, the city and the county, have been doing over the last several years, whether it be Park Crossing or Impact or LAMP. We've been trying to make sure that our students are in facilities. Now, a good facility doesn't necessarily translate into good learning, but it's something that the school board asked us to do, and we certainly were willing to join them in getting better facilities.
Good. As it relates to education, since we're in that area, across the street, you've got Trenholm State Technical College, Trenholm State Community College, excuse me. Sorry, Mr. President.
Right.
And,
accredited. That's
yes,
good.
yes.
Sure.
And so great construction going on there, and how will that tie in?
Yeah, obviously it dresses the area up. We've had a lot of work, you know, from the standpoint of when we first put the fire and the police department there and did the schools, and the county did their thing, and now we've got Bishop Parker across the street. We're seeing a lot of good stuff happen. Trenholm spending $8–10 million dressing that campus up. There's a role for Trenholm in our educational process, the opportunity for dual enrollment for school to work, to get that pipeline going is so critical. We're also talking with this 2-year school about a coding academy. That's something that we need to get into to have our kids better able to get into the internet environment, because we have that internet exchange, one of the only ones in the state, 4 in the Southeast, with the Cyber College of the Air Force coming online. We've been meeting with some of the captains of industry relative to IT, the Alphas and the Hyundais, and a lot of the units at Gunter. They tell me there are 1,000 jobs available right now if we had the trained workforce to go into the cyber and the internet and the coding arena. So we want to make sure that we offer those classes so that we can begin to get a pipeline of young people, whether it be juniors or seniors or first or second year in a technical school, or even a 4-year degree, so that we can begin to meet the demands that are on us in the technology arena in Montgomery.
Well, speaking of cyber and the internet and IT, you know, I've talked to some of our IT friends, and they say, you know, students, teenagers can start working in IT once they get their accreditation, you know, fairly quickly. As it relates to downtown, you got a whole cyber initiative.
Yes, it's just part and parcel of where we're trying to go to make Montgomery more of a gig, internet, cyber city. I asked about a year and a half or so ago, what makes a community a cyber community or a gig city, things like that, and they told me marketing. Well, that's a simple answer, but we have got to do a better job, and that's where the debate is. Do you market before you get there, or do you get there and then you market? And I think we've now been in this internet exchange for about a year. We've got an innovation district coming downtown. We've got the it's a coding academy that Boyd is doing. Boyd's doing a lot of activity going on, and I think we need to begin to start framing us being the Silicon Valley of the South. We're going to have a big year anniversary in the 1st of February for our internet exchange, announce all that have already signed up and showcase those that have agreed by contract, but just the technology piece is picking up. We're above 6 gigabytes right now, which we started a year ago with nothing. 6 is not, if you compare us to an Atlanta, it's not much, but we need to grow. And the more people that we get exchanging information, exchanging data through the internet, the more people will take notice of us. And then at the end of the day, somebody says, well, what success look like? Success looks like when the big IT companies are bringing data centers and companies to come to locate here in the river region because it's faster, it's cheaper, and it's more efficient.
That's good. Well, as it relates to cyber and Maxwell Air Force Base, you've been working with General Quast.
Yes.
And so they've launched a whole cyber initiative.
It is. It's a virtual initiative, but it's a degreed program. It's a degreed program for the military today, but tomorrow it could be a degreed program for civilians that would come there. I know that General Quast, and I'm meeting with him very soon, to talk about an innovation center that you're not going to get some of these great geek minds that are going to come on an air base and things like that, but to be able to have an innovation center for the military somewhere in the downtown environments or somewhere in Montgomery. Then you've got Boyd Stevens, and he's got it's a core, it's a coding core, something like that. He's got MGM Revolution doing great work.
Hold that point, Mayor.
Yep.
We got to go to a commercial break.
Good. Got to sell something.
And that's going to take, please stay tuned for the next segment with our great Mayor, Mayor Todd Strange. We'll be right back right after this.